Dead or alive beach volleyball.
Boobies.
Boobies. Anyway.
Welcome to Book Club.
Except instead of books, it's games.
Oh, and instead of a club, there's us two.
But the rest of the idea is 100% the same.
As every fortnight, we play one game solidly,
Then come here to talk about it.
and we want you to do the same.
All the games are retro.
Most of them are SEGA,
Some of them we've never played.
or, we've just forgotten we've played them.
Because we're old.
Because we're old! Because we're old.
Because we're old.
The Book Club has one central theme.
We play retro games for their quality.
Games that deserve to still be played.
There are some bonus old man memories to be had. But you don't need nostalgia if the game is awesome.
We're going to prove it.
In the Book Club.
Hello and welcome to Book Club. I am bedgell and this is...
Dibbs ahoy. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm laughing, everyone, by the way, because this is like the 6th or 7th time we've done this intro. I can't seem to manage to muster like a basic hello at the start of a video, so bodes well for the next hour or so. So there you go.
This one's going great. Let's keep going. Roll with it.
Roll with it. I'm not backing out now. We're in. We're in it. So I'm hyped. What we were saying before is this game has got us hyped. And I think the reason is I wasn't expecting to enjoy this one as much as I did. It kind of feels like a slow burn classic that's always there. And actually I played it and I was like, hot diggity dang, this is damn fine. Do you know what I mean? Did you get the vibes?
I certainly did, yeah. Oh man, the vibes. Yeah, I got the vibes all over the show. I flipping love this game. So I'm literally like today, like when I was like preparing for the show, I was like buzzing just thinking about the game and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Oh, there's so many rude jokes going through my head, but instead of making them, I'm going to do a little handover to your fine self to tell us what game we're playing today. Tell us
We
where
are
we're
playing the absolute masterpiece known as Revenge of Shinobi.
Oh, she's a
Or
beaut.
Super Shinobi 2, isn't it, in Japan, I believe.
Well, this one's Super Shinobi, I think. And then, like, Super Shinobi 2 was...
Oh, yeah, it
Shinobi
was the
3.
third one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I think we can be excused...
Already.
Well, we can be excused to being confused, right? Because they just were chucking those numbers all over the place,
I know.
All over the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have to hand the Mega CD version. So it's the arcade classics. So it's got the 5 games on it, and Shinobi's one of them. And I also have to hand the original Bad Boy and Shinobi on the Game Gear too. So I'm all Shinobi'd all over the show here. There's like plenty of Shinobi to be going around.
Shinobi to the max. You know what I'm thinking at this point? The same thing I think every week is, do you remember before the video when I said, I'll go get my ones? But then I just didn't
I was like, don't get those Game Gear versions that you got. It's like, what happened? What happened?
Next time when we say that, I'll go and get it. I won't say remind me later, I'll just go and get it. But, basically,
do it.
Viewers, you can imagine that somewhere in this room there are some Shinobi games. Listeners, pretend I'm holding them up. It's sort of the excitement. Use your imaginations. Magic of radio.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Well, we've got a plan for talking about Revenge of Shinobi because there's just so much to cover. We had to actually sit and think, what should we talk about? And it's going to look a little bit like this, which is we've got to start with why it's just so amazingly good. We'll have a little chat about that, why we particularly like it ourselves, our history of that kind of thing. We'll go into the game because ultimately that's what Book Club is here to do. So it's a good place to start. There's a big what should we call it? There's a big part of this which has to be the ninja culture. Let's say that. It's like the ninja culture, which is, why a ninja game? Why did Sega decide to do this? It's to showcase their machine. What was going on at the time? Where did ninjas fit into it? All that kind of jazz. And then we'll switch seamlessly into talking about the devs and who made the game and who's behind it and some of the track record of those devs, because there's some big Sega names attached to this, and it's perhaps like a launch pad for quite a few people that we all know and love. There's a bunch of stuff in there, little Shinobi secrets, in keeping with the secretive ways of the ninja that are snuck into the game. to be fair, most people know about them, but you know, they're fun, and so we'll talk about those. And it's also worth having a chat about the other Shinobi games because they are plentiful. So we'll spend a bit of time with that before then turning our attentions to the new Shinobi game, which, like the Ninja Master himself, is shadowy and secretive and unknown to pretty much everyone except people that have seen the leaked footage on YouTube.
And yeah, I was gonna say, and like Lucy Verasamy looks good.
That's a nice shoehorn. I like it.
Oh yeah, you like that?
It's the new one.
Yeah.
Are we gonna sort of switch away from the Sam Beckett Quantum Leaf references and just talk about Lucy?
As well. Don't you worry, they'll be here.
I'll tell you one thing that we could put right that once went wrong, and that is that we haven't talked about Lucy Verasamy so far in this episode. So there you go. You basically Sam Beckett.
We're already at 5 minutes in. We had to sort that one out. That's corrected.
From one beautiful legend that we'd love to get our hands on to another. That is Revenge of Shinobi. See, I cunningly avoided naming any names there, so no one can start a lawsuit. I like it. So Revenge of Shinobi, we were. I wouldn't say I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed this game, but I was definitely drawn into it and taken away and kind of like I don't know, impressed. I guess pleasantly impressed at how well it still holds up and stuff. So how did you find it? Enjoy it?
Well, I just went up in the loft and it was just there in a box. And it was good material. So anyway,
surely you can't be serious. I can be serious. Don't call me Shirley. We're in that era.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, moving.
It's fantastic. It's like, I mean, it's just every time I come to this game, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I just get into it so much. I also get my butt handed to me like over and over. And I always think the more like the older I get, the better experience I am with games, etc., etc. You know, I thought this time, you know, we've been playing a lot of games, a lot of tough games even. It's like, you know, this time I'm gonna handle it. It's like, no. Still destroys me every single time. But,
it is pre-programmed ass whooping, and we talked about it on. Well, we'll have a little chat about it again, but we talked about it before. How old Noriyoshi Oba, he planned it. He had sheets of paper where he drew it out, and he basically would write on there, "The player will die here. The player will die here." And it's like, thanks, Oba. Nice.
That's got to be one full map as well, because seriously, some of the levels I'm like creeping.
Get me a new biro. I've run out of deaths. Yeah,
exactly.
What a pun.
But no, it's all part of it, because like the thing is as well, and it is another one of those situations where like I think because of my age, I will be better at games from experience, but actually I was way better at it as a kid. Like I used to like just like I wouldn't like breathe through the game, but I would be able to beat it and stuff. And it was like even like stuff like the maze, and I can't even understand now, I can't even comprehend how I did it, but I didn't use a guide. I somehow found my way through that maze, and it's like I remembered like which door to take, which, you know, where to go at what particular place and everything. And it was just like, yeah, these days it's like, I mean, I'll be completely honest, I had to use a guide to get through that maze this time, so it was I ain't got so many years to be burning, so it was like I had to streamline that map.
I ain't got time for no maze. I got kids to look after. I got a job to do.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Isn't a lot of it to do with just the experience. This is a game where you do have to learn the route, like maze aside, just even through the basic levels. You know, there is a way through the enemies. You know, you got to take that guy out there, remember to duck there, you got to jump that bit, you got to be standing here. You know, there's a lot of memory.
Like like on the levels that ascend and stuff like that. It's good to use that jump in ability, the one where you can jump higher, because you can. I mean, it just makes it so much easier. Like doing it, like, you know. And
like first playthrough, when you come back to it, I mean, you're just always you don't remember any of that. You know, it's nothing. None of that's going to stick in your head. I will say though, I mean, it's the same. Last year I played GG Shinobi, and which I don't know why I always call it that now. It's just Shinobi, it's Game Gear Shinobi. But you know, I played that, and it's exactly the same. I remember thinking, man, I know this. I can literally play this game blindfold. I just know it inside and out. but it was like it's just gone, and
Yeah,
it's in there somewhere. And once you've played a couple of goes through, you're like, oh yeah, you kind of feel the jump, like the muscle memory
it's kind of starting to unlock.
Yeah,
totally, yeah. But no, I didn't quite get to the old skills with this one this time. So.
No, I did. Yeah, I did have to play it from just die and replay and die and replay and stuff.
Right.
It's like going, there you go.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it goes. I mean, but what makes it so good? I mean, this is one of the true classics of the Sega lore. Why? Why? What? Try and pin it. There you go. I'm gonna pass that little bad boy to you. Why is this so good?
Well, I mean, I can remember why I thought it was so good back at the time, and that was because of obviously it's a fantastic game, fantastic gameplay, fantastic looking game at the time, fantastic music. Obviously shout outs to Yuzo, we'll get onto that. But I think for me, it kind of bridged that gap between the arcade and the home, because it's everything else kind of before that, it was the arcade was up here and the home was here, and it kind of it was the home had to know its place. But suddenly Revenge of Shinobi came out, and it was up here. It was neck and neck with the arcade and stuff. It was like I was saying, it looked amazing, it sounded amazing. It was and I think they did, didn't they? They put it into the arcade on they had a Mega Drive system where they would then yes, that's the one. But they could do that because it was good enough to do that, and it was you know what I mean. That
is a huge part of it, because Oba talks in interviews about he put things in the game purely to show off. This was a showcase bit of programming. He wanted to show the Mega Drive what it can do, and it can be the arcade at home. And I mean, in this case, it went one better, right? Because you look at Shinobi the arcade versus what was, I suppose, not the Mega Drive port, but the Mega Drive's next step in it, you'd call it. Because it's not, it is a sequel, but it's obviously its own thing. But and it's stronger. It does more. It's got better gameplay. The music's better.
Yeah, I think it's a better game than the original. I mean, I definitely like it that you're kind of literally battling your way through levels, because the first one, and then I think they brought it back, didn't they, for the third one, the whole thing of the rescuing hostages, which is kind of it's cool. Moonwalker did it and all this sort of stuff. Alien 3, for example. But it's I like the pure emphasis on battling your way through these incredible stages, taking down these enemies through various means, that the character was able to do the skills and his abilities and everything. And I kind of like that pure focus, rather than having to be on the lookout for the hostages all the time and that.
You're a kindly soul, aren't you? Let them just stick them. They can
let them rot. I've got business to attend to. I'm going through.
I bet you would just let Naoko, whatever her name is, sink in that cage. Sorry, love, I've got a mountain to go look at you, but just do your thing, right? Whatever.
Hey, she's the only one you have to worry about rescuing this game. I make sure I get her every time. So.
I mean, I'd say, I played a few of the other iterations of the Shinobi franchise as part of doing this, and I think the mechanics feel they're most honed on this game. So I kind of like a couple of the bits they put into 3. It feels they went for the run, and they sort of made maybe you'd argue it's a bit more fluid, but I just feel the balance of the mechanics is right in this one. And and I would say in Game Gear Shinobi as well, because they're very closely mirrored, the way they play. Obviously Game Gear's simplified, but the physics feel that's a really similar thing, and that is for me what works so well in this one. I'd say compared to other games of the era, but also other Shinobi games, it just feels the physics feel very well weighted to the levels, and the levels feel very well weighted to the physics.
They've got it right.
Good.
It's if everything's sitting in the right kind of area and that, and it's and then in the third one, it looks really cool. You got kind of kick attacks and all this sort of extra stuff, and it's and they make it a bit more snazzy, I suppose, with the horses and and like the
it is snazzy.
surfing levels and all that sort of stuff, and it's very like, oh, he's a cool young lad or something like that. But but this game, it's like, it's not trying to be cool. It's just awesome, kind of how and where it is. I think they just got it right. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because like the extra bits in the other game, I quite like them actually, but not. I like them to play. I don't really like them as a concept. If that sounds not too much of a contradiction, it's kind of, it is a bit like, oh yeah, we're doing this now. Maybe we should be doing this in a different game. I don't know. So
yeah, I was a little surprised by the surfboard. Was it like a rocket-powered surfboard or something like that? It wasn't even like a standard.
The thing is, that's the thing they always use to advertise it, and it's always the thing that people use the screenshot of, and you're like, what?
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah, I was like very, very like taken aback, I suppose, when I first saw that. Yeah.
No, but it's brilliant, and I suppose that the purity of it is part of the appeal, because they were very much going after a ninja audience, because we may not remember it like with our like old man heads, but ninjas were a big deal. Like back in the like late 80s going into the 90s, ninjas were everywhere. You couldn't see them because they were in the shadows, but they were everywhere.
I was at a school with loads of ninjas. All the kids that were like 8 and 9 thought they were ninjas.
I don't. But it's funny looking back, because there were an absolute shed load of ninja films on, but like around like in the 80s. I guess I don't really remember a lot of them from the time. I remember Turtles, which weirdly, when we were preparing for this, I didn't think of. You don't really think of them as ninjas, but of course, it's in the name. So
you just think, a bit outside of the whole ninja thing. But I suppose that's. That is where I suppose I learned most of the names of the weapons and all that sort of stuff.
I thought you were going to say it's where I learned most of my moves, and I was like, dude.
Well, that too.
Yeah, that's it.
I was Donatello, trying to do with my bow staff and roundhouses and all that stuff in my back garden, looking like Phoebe's brother when he's like.
Those like psychology tests you can do in magazines. I mean, you might not unless you've read your girlfriend's magazines, because that's mostly where they are. But it's like, it's like, oh, if you drink your coffee first in the morning, then you're a Libra, and you like this. I mean, Turtles was like that for a young kid, wasn't it? It's like, depending which turtle you are, very much sort of suggested your character.
Like totally.
I always had like a definite sense that I hated Raphael. I don't know why, but I think I seem to remember like I was Michelangelo, and I kind of felt like I wasn't good enough to be Leonardo. That was like the sort of general thing of it. Yeah.
I don't think you're cool enough to be Michael. I'm kidding. He was a party dude.
You can leave right now. I mean,
I know, I'll go.
Listen, 9-year-old me was a party animal. Let me tell you.
April O'Neil you might be able to pull off, but I don't know.
Hey, I'd pull off April O'Neil in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, there were absolutely loads of ninja movies about. So you had some of the big ones. I'm going to rattle them off from my extensive research. See if you remember any of these. Shogun Assassin. Nope. Miami Connection. Not the most obvious ninja movie title. Make it a bit easier. American Ninja 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, I have at least heard of that. Yeah.
That's the Super Ninja.
Wait, I just thought of one. 3 ninjas. There were some kids, and there was a Game Gear in it. That's what I was thinking of earlier. There's like a Game Gear in that movie, and he I definitely recall it.
If you're gonna remember one, that's a good reason to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think this had any influence on the game at all, but it is interesting to note there is a Revenge of the Ninja and there is the Super Ninja, which kind of it was. You never really clock it now, but it was quite a big deal that they did shoehorn in the word the Super Shinobi and stuff. So, and here it is, the Super Ninja. So maybe it had an influence. Who cares really? There were loads of ninja films. It's the only point I really made.
There was a bunch of ninjas.
There were so many ninjas.
They were all over the show.
And of course, there were loads of ninja games as well, because we're the Shinobi ones are really the ones I played, but obviously Ninja Gaiden was like another big one. Yeah, that
was a big one. Chris had that one on his links. And I remember we played that quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just another one that's just always been around as well. I think.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a Ninja Gaiden game? Was it? Did you have the NES one? Is it on the NES?
It's on the NES.
I swear.
I think it's really hard on the NES. I can't remember. I'm not sure. I mean, the time that I really remember that series is when it like went on the Xbox, so that was like way later.
Yeah.
Like Ninja Gaiden Black and all that sort of stuff.
And you know, Ninja Gaiden, like the base Ninja Gaiden on Xbox is quite cheap, but Ninja Gaiden Black's like super rare and not super rare. It's super expensive. I know that much.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Ninja.
Yeah.
That was another
I
one.
had
that
the
you mentioned
Ninja
as well.
on. Yeah. Matt Pennell got Matt for me for my birthday because it was $9.99 in the August catalogue.
Don't start with the $9.99 stuff.
I know.
At some point, we'll have to tell the viewers and listeners about the whole $9.99 saga, and then we'll see who's laughing. But, you know, there's just, if you're out there, let's just say that, bedgell, I was wronged in the past, and these guys are punks, so that's all you need to know.
Oh, that's a story waiting to happen.
So, but yeah, so loads of Ninja games. The Ninja, it was the Ninja we were talking about earlier, and it was originally called Princess, the Princess Ninja.
Yeah.
And you took great offence in not being able to tell that it was a princess, and then we found out it wasn't a princess.
I thought it was a dude, like, because I had it on the Master System. Was it the Mark III version or the arcade version or something like that?
Yeah.
It started out like as a princess, didn't it?
Yeah,
and I was like, what? I swore it was a dude. Like the whole time we were playing it was like a little dude. And like then we did find out that it had actually been swapped out for the Western launch, didn't we? So
Yeah.
I think you then rescue the princess girl instead.
Yeah, she's still in there. And,
she's in there, yeah. Doing her damsel in distress bit.
You know, another game I never really think of as a ninja game, Strider. I mean, that sounds stupid. I just think of it as like an action game. Do you know what I mean? Because it's more like just sort of flinging himself about.
Sort of,
I think he's some kind of futuristic ninja or something. He's like a cyber
that kind
ninja
of
or something.
sword kind of attack, whatever it is he does. It's kind of like the main thought in my head. I mean, he does do like flips and like a slide kick and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I suppose there's
and he like climbs stuff and hangs some stuff, and that's all very ninja, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, we'll come back to it, but the sword attack looks very like the sword attack in the leaked Shinobi footage. So just, you know, I'm watching you.
There you go. Yeah.
And as you pointed out to me in the past, the Strider, like Mega Drive Strider, was not done by Capcom. It was like the in-house team at SEGA. And actually, some of the people that worked on Strider worked on Revenge of Shinobi. So,
there you go.
I know, little links for you. You also got some classic action in games. So ninjas in games. So you got Guy, Final Fight.
Oh yeah.
Maki. Final
Fight Maki, Final Fight 2.
Final Fight 2. That person in Eternal Champions, whose name I can't remember. Shadow something or other.
Shadow Yamoto.
Shadow Yamoto.
There you go, yeah.
How do I keep track of my moto? Shadow Yamoto. That's what I do. That's God. You can tell I'm a dad. That's just, I find that kind of stuff funny. So,
it's good material.
I would say probably the most memed and AI created and recreated and deviant arted character ever in My Shiranui.
My Shiranui.
And I mean, I don't think I could scroll through Twitter on any given day and not come across a picture of My Shiranui. It's like,
hey, what you do in your own time? Oh, I see what. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know what you did there. I've got a wipeable screen. Moving on.
It's either her or Morrigan, isn't it? It's like,
oh man, they love a bit of Morrigan. Yeah.
It's all over the shit. Yeah. Yeah, she's one of the main.
Sorry, I was just having a little moment there. But I guess the point being, before we go any further down that sort of potentially YouTube bannable track, is there was a lot of ninja stuff out there, and they were very keen to get a piece of the pie. And that was really the sum total of that whole thing. Like, ninja films are plenty, ninja games ahoy. I mean, we're going to throw in a ninja stuff abounds. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
Actually, can I check you remember this? So when in the days of Meme Machines, like we used to always say ahoy and abounds after like everything, and that's from Meme Machines. You remember that, right? I feel like that sort of. I'm unclear whether that's become like a thing that I've made up.
No. Yeah, we said that all the time. It was like the word. If you're looking for a word to kind of like, be beeping out a sentence or something. It's ahoy. It's
Dibbs
like
ahoy.
About well, exactly. Is that? I think that's where it came from. It's like I was always called Dibbs. Yeah. But then it's like one time somebody was asking me I needed a second name. It's like, well, I ain't got one. Well, it's going to be ahoy, isn't it?
Which is where, I think that's where Lartens comes from as well, isn't it? He's just like jackass Lartens, a Lartens. And
actually, one thing I discovered was I was on like a stream with like an American dude, and he thought I was like doing some kind of nod to Chips Ahoy, the cookies that they have in America, which like I was just like, no, nothing to do with that. But he kept calling me Chips Ahoy. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Originally known as Diabetes Ahoy because of the sugar content, but they changed it. It didn't quite work out. Disclaimer, that's allegedly known as that. So, but yeah, under screenshots, wasn't it? It'd be like Ninja Action Ahoy and things like that. And Ninja Thrills Abound in the latest from SEGA. Yeah. We should bring that sort of stuff back. Yeah, we need a language. Answer in the comment about words we should adopt for ourselves. Ahoy being a good one. I was going to say Alan Partridge does it, but he says aha. It's not the same.
That's true.
It's not the same.
It's close.
But I mean, so when Revenge of Shinobi came out, there wasn't a huge amount on the Mega Drive. So this was like what? It was 1989, if I remember. That's right, isn't it? 87 arcade, 89 Mega Drive. Tell me if I'm getting this wrong. I'm confused now. Yeah. It was 89. But like, I mean, Mega Drive is definitely still in its early phase. Definitely still focused on arcade ports and being the arcade machine. And like other stuff that was out. I mean, Golden Axe was out by then, I think, or around that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was among that first batch of kind of launch Mega Drive games and stuff.
All that stuff that was on that disc you showed earlier, I think was around this era, wasn't it? Slightly before.
Like Golden Axe, everything like that. Yeah, all those games, like it was in there. But like, I mean, they were kind of like hoping this game in particular was going to be like the showpiece kind of thing. Like I say, it was the thing that showed that the Mega Drive could stand up to the arcade, and that's what they were kind of hoping it was going to be, and I think they did that.
Yeah, I think at the time you'd have been hard pressed to really find a real difference between arcade quality gameplay and what they achieved. It was like, I think we compared Golden Axe in our early video and stuff, and it held up really well, but you could see that like it kind of struggled.
Yeah, there was a difference. Because it was its own thing. I suppose you couldn't measure it up against the arcade because there was no arcade of Revenge of Shinobi,
which is a neat trick.
This actual version, because with Altered Beast, you could see that wasn't as good as the arcade version and stuff. But like with this, it was its own thing, and it was like fantastic for what it was. So.
I mean, and the gaps on the other games weren't huge. It wasn't like a kind of arcade Daytona to Saturn Daytona. It was, they were kind of things lost around the edges and little kind of, quality of life, or I suppose quality of presentation stuff, like a lot of it, wasn't it? But but I think they did a good job. And the team behind this was, I don't think at the time was particularly long in the tooth, but they certainly all gone on to do like great things. And we talked about the head honcho, that Noriyoshi Oba, in our previous video on Streets of Rage, because as we said in that one, like him and the team did Revenge of Shinobi, and then basically down tools, and the next day came in and started Streets of Rage, which was quite a good run. And so I suppose we don't have to say a huge about Oba, but he did loads of like cracking stuff. Like his list of titles is huge, and he was like the producer, the main dude leading the show. But he did a couple of other names do like bubble to the surface on this one, and like I think one of the ones that we have to give a bit of credit to is this guy Atsushi Samiya. So him and Oba seem to have like quite a close relationship, because you see them kind of popping up as a duo throughout a lot of future games. I think I read an interview about Skies of Arcadia, which I think was like a Samiya directed game, but Oba was like the producer.
What beauty that is!
Yeah, and he very much talks about like Samiya's like, I'm the in the interviews, like, I'm the director, so I'm kind of in charge of everything, I like choose this and choose that, and then Oba like rocks up and goes, Yeah. I mean, I kind of say what has to happen, and he makes it happen. And it's like, way to undercut me over. Thanks a lot.
So which one of those two didn't put in the VGA support though in that game? That's what I want to know. They're not willing to pipe up and claim that one.
I'm blaming Oba the punk.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's like I've read a couple of interviews, and that same comment about like I have the idea and he implements it. Like he actually he chucked that little hand grenade into an earlier interview when he was talking about all those licensed issues. So, so we'll come back to it properly in a sec. Like Spider-Man, Batman, Godzilla and stuff. So what he sort of said in his defense was, well, I kind of just had ideas of generally kind of what I wanted, someone that's a little bit like Spider-Man, and then he only went and put Spider-Man in it,
That's the thing. The dude was like, oh, he wants a guy like Batman. Okay, literally whack Batman in there. It's like, Rambo, get him in there. Godzilla, him too, get them all in. Come on, let's go.
I said a guy like Rambo. Could you get any more like Rambo? He's literally wearing the headband. Take it off, Samir, take it off. But I just thought it was quite funny because that's obviously been their dynamic for like the whole time they worked together. But Samir worked on loads. So he did Revenge of Shinobi. He did SWAT, which I think was before or after. I can't remember which one it
was. Wasn't it? E-SWAT. We decided on the other episode.
U-SWAT. I'm remembering that bad boy. Strider. So he was one of the people that also worked on Strider. Was that a link we made earlier? I can't remember. Anyway, so he worked on Strider. But the thing I know him for the best is when we were doing Streets of Rage, I clocked him as the only name I could see on the Streets of Rage team that then worked on Streets of Rage 2. Because obviously they then passed over to Ancient. And I think I then read on Sega Retro that actually he's the only person, or one of the only people that's worked on all three. Yuzo Koshiro, I guess, being one of the others or the other.
I guess it's them,
That's a pretty good credit, right? If you're going to...
really good.
Be the only dude to have worked on a trilogy, so...
Yeah, mate. I mean, when it's as legendary as Streets of Rage as well, it's like, you can be pretty content with that kind of thing on your CV, I suppose, can't you?
Rocking up to a job interview. So what makes you qualified for head of production? Well, I might have worked on Streets of Rage you're in.
Just imagine though, do you remember when Sega didn't know, it'd been a few years and the people in charge of Sega didn't know they owned Streets of Rage?
Oh, man.
So he was going around yeah, that's right. SOR, that's me. What's that? You for real? Man, that would have been crushing.
Talk about a game we know about, old man. Whatever. We're too busy playing that war game, whatever they made. I can't remember. It's that long period where Sega basically made Football Manager and some war game. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway,
the anime kind of one that was on the PS3.
You know what? I'd have a guess, but my journalistic talents have already dried up so much.
What was it?
I might just cut my losses.
Valkyria Chronicles or something, was it?
You're intent on making... I don't know. All right,
good game.
It's great. I tell you what, though, it's an absolute stormer. Having discussed that at length, back to Samir.
Yes.
But so he did. He's an art guy, so art director or art producer or whatever, and then he sort of transitioned into directing. But he was on Sonic Adventure. Skies of Arcadia, I think, was his first directing gig, his first joint. Right. Yeah. And then he also worked on, I think, Shinobi on the PlayStation 2, that version.
Oh yeah.
And then what was the other one called? Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
No, that's Jake Gyllenhaal, isn't it? Yeah, Night something. Nightshade. It is Nightshade.
She was also a gladiator that we didn't like, wasn't it? Nightshade, do you remember?
Yeah.
Very funny looking face. Mate, but anyway.
If it wasn't Jet or Wolf, I don't want to know. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'll tell you which one I fancied later.
I was going to say.
His hair was so soft. I just wanted to touch it. So he's there. And obviously, I guess the other one is Yuzo Koshiro. I think
the legend, absolute legend.
Sometimes easy because everyone knows he's a legend to gloss over the fact he's a legend and downplay it. Yeah, but, I mean, this soundtrack, is it his best? I mean, it's maybe one of the most important to him, if not the best. I mean, I guess Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2 are thought of as the best.
This was the first game where he got his name right there, kind of like in the opening, didn't he? So it was like, it was kind of like almost putting him on the map, and then he went on to cement himself as the legend. But man, this soundtrack is just, it is next level, isn't it? I mean, I even remember, like, it kind of almost gave me like a false impression of the Mega Drive, because it was like one of the early games that we played, and I was like, man, the Mega Drive is like amazing, this music is incredible and all that sort of stuff. And then it was like, because some of the early ones we were playing as well was like the Streets of Rage 2 and things like that, the very good examples of it. So then when you kind of like get to some of the other games, you kind of realize like, they're not quite up to scratch, and that it's taken something special to make like these soundtracks like Shinobi and that.
I mean,
but
I guess extra special because this is his first Mega Drive game, right? So I believe,
it is.
I think it's his first Sega game, but first Mega Drive game. So this is all this stuff we're saying here. Discovering the way to get the best out of the Mega Drive and making it sound so awesome. He definitely enhanced that on Streets of Rage and then Streets of Rage 2. But like getting the best out of it. Wow, first game, and he's already got it sounding like this, which
amazing.
Exactly like you say. So many other games struggle to get it to really this kind of heights. I had forgotten most of the tunes on this because it's not a game I've picked up loads over the years. It's just sort of one of those that's like always there, and sometimes you have a tinker and stuff. I kind of know, I know a few tracks because they're just so iconic and can't forget them. But I was thinking, oh wow, this is another great one. Like, it's good. Do you know what I mean? Just it was nice. It was a nice kind of rediscovery.
I used to sit there like with my headphones plugged into my Mega Drive, just scrolling through the sound test and stuff that. It was just like, just fantastic. It's just, it was next level. I couldn't believe how amazing it was and that.
It's great. It's like on when you're listening to an album that you love and that the track, your favorite track, is coming and it comes on. It's like, it's amazing. And it's like with the levels, isn't it? As you get to certain levels, you're like, oh yes, it's going to kick into the bit I really love.
There's so many good tracks on it. Chinatown, Long Distance. Oh my god, Ninja Step, so good. I did
actually have. I think I've been playing it on the Amnic through the little tinny speaker that it's got. And then I had headphones in when we got to Chinatown, and it was like, oh man, there's proper depth going on there. I mean, it sounds obvious to say, but
well, I mean, I did like a kind of cover of it, didn't I? Like mimic, like seriously, it was. I had to really listen to the parts and then try and get stuff sounded right. And this my version obviously still wasn't as good either, even with like the abilities of like modern technology and stuff. Doesn't sound as good as what he got out of the Mega Drive. So it's like, I mean, that is just.
I have to say, it does sound bloody good. It's on our short, right? Or short. So if you want to have a listen, it does sound bloody good. And I mean, he still uses a lot of the same kit from back then, so I guess it shows you that if it's the particular sound you're after, it's more about what you use, not how powerful it is. Do you know what I mean? It's like I went and just played a couple of the other games he did around this time. So, I think after this, he then went and did ActRaiser and a game called Misty Blue, which I've never played. I just sort of saw it on the internet. Well, I played a bit of ActRaiser, and the music's good, but what I really noticed is there's a sound effect in there which is definitely then reused in Streets of Rage 2, because I read that he used sounds. He did all the sound effects for Shinobi, Streets of Rage, and Streets of Rage 2, and he reused a lot of them. Like did a lot of the voice acting himself and stuff like that. But it didn't occur to me he might reuse it from other games. On the jungle level on Streets of Rage 2, where that like snake-headed thing comes out of the wall and you have to hit it. The noise it makes when you hit it and it kind of recoils across the screen.
Yeah, it's got like a kind of Geiger looking background.
Yeah.
And
it kind of goes like that. Bad impression. I won't do that again.
I know what you're talking about. Don't worry.
It's the recoil. It's like the recoil sound effect, and it's in ActRaiser, and it's like. It's so weird hearing something so like that so iconic, but it probably happens loads, and it's just the only one.
Had a little a little repertoire of stuff that he liked. One thing that I would really recommend listening to is the soundtrack he did for Ys Books 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx CD.
Yeah, I don't
really
know
good.
him. You know, we've talked about this.
Really good.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, it's sort of outside of my knowledge, but I do know that kind of he's really well recognised for that. And I think when people more generally talk about Yuzo Koshiro, they will talk about that. And then
it's amazing.
What's the more recent series of RPGs and stuff he's worked on? I can't remember, but basically he's worked on that whole series, and that's been really good. But I haven't played it.
Right.
But because he'd done a fair few. He'd done a fair few games before this on other systems, and that Misty Blue was like a PC 88, PC 98 game or something. And so, he's still very much, and he's carried on doing stuff for other systems. But I guess Revenge of Shinobi, not only his first Mega Drive game, but was the start of a SEGA era. Where he
that's where they realised they weren't letting him slip away, didn't they? They were like, he's in the door and he's staying in the door. It's that's when they put him up to, forming Ancient and then doing that first Sonic game. And it's just, they knew what they had on their hands there, I think, didn't they? They realised.
It makes you think who was being the canny one, I guess, because they've got this guy and locked him into their games. Whereas for him, he's kind of got these deals and managed to sort of get onto some good games. But you read it and it very much is we worked with Yuzo and we thought he did really well, so I asked him back for the next game. It seems very much like this is Noriyoshi Oba. It seems very much like you could see how if they just hadn't worked well together, it just wouldn't have happened. It's just a person to person thing.
He does have the love of Sega, doesn't he? That still continues to this day. Because I remember when I realised he had done Super Nintendo games after the Streets of Rage games. It felt a little bit funny. You know what I mean? It's what? It's he went and worked on a Super Nintendo game.
How very dare you?
I know, but he had to. He had the tunes in him. He had to get them out there. So.
Well, I have talking of music, not Yuzo, but a little nugget for you. In the Saturn Shinobi game, so Shinobi X to us, wasn't it? What was the Japanese Shinobi Legends?
Legions.
Legions, that's it. So Shinobi X. So they like the Americans did for Sonic CD. When that game came west, Sega Europe decided that they didn't like the music, and they had it redone by none other than Richard Jacks. And I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know who got jilted. It wasn't Yuzo, but it's quite a big deal to redo the soundtrack, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they just didn't think it suited the audience and stuff. It's a bit like Sonic CD, I guess, wasn't it? Yeah. They thought for America it should be something different and whatever. But I don't know. I thought the original was decent. So.
That Sonic CD decision, Matt. Listen, in the history of bad decisions, talk about looking a gift horse in the mouth. You got an absolute legend soundtrack, and you're going to replace it. That show. Yeah,
but then Americans do kind of consider it to be what they got as being a legendary soundtrack too. So they really loved it.
They can consider that, but they're wrong. So
exactly.
They probably like the covers that they had on their Mega Drive games, but they're wrong. They suck. So,
no, I think even they would have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, they really do suck. So, but so Noriyoshi Oba, this his name, Sumiya and Koshiro, some of the big ones. There was another fella on there who was this Naohiro Warama, and he's not a big name, but I think he did character design in Revenge of Shinobi, so he's quite important to this game. But he's not one of those that you hear talked about a lot. But his list of credits is absolutely nuts, and I suppose the point of mentioning him is Revenge of Shinobi just seemed like such a launch pad for some really stellar careers. I mean, all these people going on to be really big producers.
Yeah, stuff. I mean, you read their credits; it's insane stuff. So it's so good.
This Warami, so your character design for Revenge of Shinobi, he then sort of mainly did tech support stuff, building game engines and doing the behind the scenes nuts and bolts stuff. But he went to Smilebit, then he went to Amusement Vision, under the Daytona guy, his name's gone up my head. Anyway, the guy that runs Amusement Vision. And so he did Spike Out, with, I guess it would have been Smilebit. It's around that era, wasn't it? But Spike Out.
Yeah, like that game got the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Decent.
Yakuza, I think he started on Yakuza 3 and is still working on them up to, I think the last credit I saw was Infinite Wealth, so I guess he's still...
Okay. Yeah, they churn those games out, don't they? It's like, I couldn't even keep up with them if I tried. So.
And I have tried, but I can't.
Yeah. I did try and play Judgment, I think, the other day. Like, I think Dan from Sega Guys did a video on it, and I was and it had Fighting Vipers in the arcade things as well. That was my extra inspiration to get it. But seems fantastic as well. Yeah, really.
The thing is, they are all cracking, but the thing is, the plots like come and go in terms of strength, but I guess I want to know what's happening in them, so I want to play them through. I mean, you can pick them up and just play them and they're fun, but I want to play them through.
Isn't the new one like pirate one or something? Pirate theme or something like that?
I don't know it well enough to say. I know pirates feature. As a thing.
I don't think it's out. It's out yet. It's like the next.
No, it's what I've heard. Soon. Like just what I've read. And stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't really know enough about it, but I've definitely seen the pictures with pirates.
Yeah, I like that. It's quirky, isn't it?
It's bizarre. It's bizarre is what it is. So, but so Nahiro Warama. So there you go. So that's 4 real big careers that pretty much started with Revenge of Shinobi, and I just think that if you want to talk big, I guess that's the other one. I mean, the game itself was huge. It went on to spawn loads of other games and spin-offs. Varying quality, I suppose you'd say. So, do you have the master? You must have had the Master System one, I guess.
I got the Master System one.
Oh yeah, you showed it to me earlier. Yeah, I'm just going to say that was like less than an hour ago, and I still had to remind myself. Yeah.
I can't. My memory's gone too. Yeah, but no, it's decent. It's like, I mean, it's not as good as the arcade, but it's a decent reflection of it. Actually, some guy in the community is doing a Mega Drive version of it, like a conversion of the arcade, and it looks like pretty good. So that's really cool. Yeah. But like the Master System one is quite fun as it is. So
solid. And you had the other games on the Mega Drive, obviously. So you had what would be, I suppose, Japanese new and Super Shinobi 2, which was the 3 to us, wasn't it?
So that would be Shinobi 3, wouldn't it? Yeah, right. Got
Shadow Dancer in the arcade. The Shadow Dancer Mega Drive, which I haven't played the arcade version, but I understand it's not the game that we got on the Mega Drive. It's sort of similar idea that they've got the dog, but I don't think apparently it's different.
Well, I think they changed the Mega Drive version, didn't they? Sort of like to try and like spruce it up a bit for the home and that. Because I remember there was a Master System version as well, and I always thought it was like, how could it go wrong? It's like Shinobi with a dog. I mean, that's amazing. But like, I can't remember what version I played. I don't know if it was the Master System version, but I sort of like felt a little underwhelmed by it. But then just earlier when we were preparing for this, I was like watching a video of it. Of the Mega Drive version, and I was thinking, well, this looks fantastic. And all the comments were like, this is amazing, and it was like an IGN like review or something, and everyone, and like the guy was like saying negative stuff about it, I think it was, and everyone was like in the comments, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like he's like slamming the game, and there's this amazing stuff happening or something. So so I want to actually give that one a go sometime soon.
I think that definitely summarizes how I remember it. I think averages out sort of 80. It's one of those games where you did get people giving it good scores, you did get people giving it bad scores. I played it last week and had a run through, and I liked it. I kind of felt like it was like when you got it right, where you could get the dog attack to work and you could get your attacks to land, and you sort of got a bit of rhythm to it. It felt really good, but then it was really frustrating as well. So
was it one hit kill? Is that what it was? I can't remember. There was something that
I was definitely one of the games I was playing. One of the Shinobis had one hit kill. Yeah. But I swear,
think the original.
I swear, like I was getting in whatever game it was, and it might have been Shadow Dancer. I swear I got hit a few times and survived on my first playthrough, and then started getting one hit killed, and I was confused. So don't know. That's again not very useful information. But Shadow Dancer I thought was decent, but again,
and I always remember it was a bit hype. Yeah. like back in the day, people were like excited for it and stuff like that. But no, I kind of didn't get it because of like people did kind of put me off of it a bit. I think back at the time, it was just like, it's not quite as good as Revenge of Shinobi.
It's the definite legacy memory I've got of it that people slated it, or not slated it. That it had a lot of detractors.
Totally.
Yeah.
I remember picking up the box in WH Smith's when they used to do games. I was looking at it and I was like, I thought this was going to be so good, but like I definitely had in my head. I definitely had in my head that people would like said negative stuff about it, but I don't know. I need to play it and decide for myself. I think.
All you got to remember in this day and age is Meme Machines gave James Bond 2 95%. So perhaps all of your understanding of games to this point needs to be rewritten.
Everything I know is wrong.
I don't want to overstate how wrong that was, but that pretty much sums it up. Maybe rewrite everything you know.
That is a big one. I mean, that was big to the point was this when we were looking it up. This cannot be right. What I'm seeing here is not right, and we kept looking, and it turned out it was.
I love that we are 30 years later and a good 5 videos later, and we're still talking about how wrong that was.
Yeah, that's the legacy that is left with us on GFA.
Well, let's go for something positive, because the other spin-off that's definitely worth mentioning is the Game Gear Shinobi games. I mean, the first one, the second one was good, but like I just maybe just because it's the one I had back in the day, but like the first game was just superb. I mean, it was so
trying to get the game out. Oh, here it is. There we go.
Nice. Look at that,
very
dude.
Nice. Which way? That way.
So
that's the first one. Yes.
It's funny because we were just talking about him earlier, but I always thought that green guy looked quite like Damo in that picture. Have a little look at it. You know what I mean.
But it took me ages to get out of the little packet. I can't do it.
This will be meaningless to everyone listening and watching. But we basically.
It does. This looks like a guy we used to know. It does. I can see it.
Text him today.
I can totally see it.
So, but that again, talking about balance, I just felt like, I mean, that's such a simple game. It's all obviously it is scrolling, but a lot of the bits of it were almost like one screen kind of action. You know, it was very It's very simplified, but it's just mechanics. You know, we talked about it earlier actually, weren't we? So I won't repeat it, but it was just so well balanced. The mechanics were so good. The physics felt so good. The levels were so simple but so tightly made. You know, just brilliant. And of course, the music was amazing. It was funny.
Yeah, that was really good too.
That's the other thing here in Revenge of Shinobi, because there's a bunch of tracks that he did 8-bit versions of for Game Gear Shinobi, Koshiro. And I suppose the good thing is, it's not so much I listened to it and thought, you know, it's a shame it didn't have its own music. I just again thought, how in the hell has he made this sound so good on the Game Gear? Yeah. It's like actually, just amazing.
I saw earlier, I was reading something and it said that at one point it was Revenge of Shinobi was scheduled for the Master System. Ooh. So I wonder how that could have turned out. I mean, obviously it never happened, but I'd be interested. I should have looked into it actually, see if there's any evidence of it out there or something.
Well, I mean, maybe one day if we ever have a YouTube channel and make videos talking about game history, you could research stuff like that. Oh wait, we do?
Maybe.
Or what? just a little joke, whatever.
That's got five views written all over it.
So, but yeah, Shinobi 3, decent, like we said before, a bit unbalanced. Shinobi Legions, nice cutscenes. The Saturn version. I was quite.
Oh yeah.
I fired that up last year when I got the Fenrir, and I don't think I'd ever played it before, and I was like, oh my god, what am I looking at? This is awesome. And I was like, the game's okay. I didn't love it.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it did kind of get a bit of a hard time, like in the magazines that I was reading, which is why I didn't pick it up back in the day. But but no, it was cool having all the live action FMV bits and everything, kind of filling out the story. Yeah.
So, and then PS2 got a couple of games in it, Shinobi and Nightshade, Kumoichi, I think it was called in Japan. And and then you were saying too that I completely passed me by at the time. Game Boy Advance 1. So that was that was Revenge of Shinobi.
It was called it was called Revenge of Shinobi, but it was like nothing like the Mega Drive version at all.
Yeah.
It actually, like, I don't remember ever playing it. Like, maybe I'll get it, like, try it out one day on emulator, but it looks like it sucks, basically. Like, so, sorry if there's any fans listening thinking that we're covering that one on the book club, but it looks terrible.
GB arse. And it's no, it didn't even pass the joke. So, and then the 3DS game, Shinobi game, which I just always assumed was just like a port but done in 3D, like it was Streets of Rage, but you were saying is also its own game.
Yeah, there's a Shinobi game. Yeah, it came out 2011, I think it was, and it's literally just called Shinobi, but it's like a whole new game. Looks pretty decent, actually. Like I watched some videos, a lot of people saying that it's really amazing in the comments and stuff. It's like still playing like 2D, but it's got kind of like 3D background. So like I think there's a bit where you're running around a corridor in a building, and as you get to the end of the corridor and he goes into the next corridor that leads down the other side of the building, the camera kind of pans accordingly. It's that kind of 3D. So realistically you're playing on like a 2D plane, but like the graphics are kind of functioning like with a bit of a 3D
I can see that
element
working.
to it.
Just give it a little bit of spice.
A lot of comments were saying it's amazing and stuff, and it is one of those games that I used to see a lot in like CEX and be like, oh, I should grab that one day, and then never get round to it, and then I don't even know how much it will probably be worth these days.
I guarantee you already regret that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's all the other games, and of course Revenge of Shinobi itself got a few versions, because essentially they did iterations of Shinobi to gradually weed out the licensing issues. This is what we mentioned earlier with Oba saying, oh, let's have someone like Spider-Man, and they actually put Spider-Man in it. They did have a bunch of undeniably like licensable characters in it. So remind me who they actually are, because I'm just going to forget to wrap them up.
Well, there were 4 iterations, weren't they? Like 4 versions of these characters. So the Japanese original version, it had Spider-Man, Batman, Rambo, Godzilla, and what was very clearly the Terminator for that one boss. And so gradually, I think when it came west, Spider-Man was still in it, which I do remember actually at the time.
Because I understand it, like Spider-Man looked like Spider-Man in the base version, and then in the sort of first iteration, they deliberately made him more Spider-Man because Sega had the license and actually said, let's just go for it and make him Spider-Man.
Yeah, totally. And like he was credited like on the at some point. I remember it saying like Spider-Man, like copyright Marvel, whatever it is, you know. But like I was super confused though, because like you're taking down the baddies, and I was like, well, I love Spider-Man. Why is he a baddie? Why am I fighting Spider-Man? So
he's gone rogue. Totally multiverse? Who knows?
Yeah. But so they gradually kind of got changed, didn't they? So Batman, in the version that I remember playing, which I believe is the second version, so Spider-Man turned into Batman originally, but then he turns now into some kind of like bat demon kind of looking thing. I don't know how you would describe it.
You know what he really looks like? He looks like the guy that he looks like one of Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd when they dress up to go to the pagan festival in Dragnet.
Oh, Dragnet.
With the sheepskin like leggings and stuff. So basically not like Batman. But I think in the one that came west, he was. I think that was out in whatever one came west.
Yeah, and the Rambo characters, they took the kind of mullet hair.
Just took his hair off.
He had like a shaved head. Yeah, I can't remember what Godzilla was like in that particular version, but like basically by the 4th version, they kind of stripped out any of the copyright issues. And like Godzilla was just like some kind of dinosaur skeleton kind of thing, that it was like similar shape, but
a good sprite like by the way anymore. Like obviously they didn't half-ass it. I think actually kind of a more impressive enemy than the sort of Godzilla one, because
but I mean Godzilla is so big in Japan, isn't it? They probably love having him in the game, and like I was like hyped to kind of like see that kind of stuff when I was a kid. I remember my mum used to rent me the Japanese Godzilla movies, and they were all like subtitled, obviously. And
she had a collection of Godzilla movies that she used to rent out to you. That's just how it sounded.
Her own VHS shop.
Like you go in the dining room, I'll take a Godzilla 2, please, Mum. Thanks. 99p. Get it back on time this time.
I know, she ran a tight ship.
She was strict.
The fines I got, man.
Anyway, thanks for going with that one. That was much appreciated. Oba said about that Godzilla, he was like, well, it's not Godzilla. He didn't have Godzilla's fin on the back, and it's like, yeah, all right, whatever. It's just such a sort of mixed reactions where it's like either he's blaming it on Samir, or he's saying, oh, it didn't have the fin, or he's just saying, no, it was meant to be like that. It's like, just make your mind up, you rat bag.
They should have really pushed it over the edge and put in Godzuki. Did you ever see the old cartoon? Like he had like a little sidekick of like a small version of Godzilla,
like Scrappy Doo.
Yeah, it is that kind of thing. Yeah, it was some old cartoon that I used to watch in the 80s. I thought it was. Well, no, I can't say I thought it was great. It was very weird, but I watched it.
I do buy that story though, that he said, make this sprite a bit like this and make this one a bit like this, and it was just taking it too far, because otherwise it's just so random. Like why would you have Rambo in that level where it's just like essentially just a random enemy? We've also got what look like, I suppose, World War II era troops, and then randomly you've got Rambo. Actually, when you stop and think about it, it's a very mixed up game. It's all over.
Well, do you remember one of the weirdest things? And it was the nuns that suddenly turned into ladies of the night in their red outfits and stuff.
I don't want it to be a confession. I didn't realise that is my thing. I think that's my kink. Like the first time that happened, I was like, nuns turning into that, like ladies in red latex. That specifically appears to be my thing, because I was like, I got a little shiver when that first happened. So, thanks, Samia, for putting that one in.
You planted that one. But But...
So, anyway, I like that about the game, that it's a bit madcap, it's a bit strange, and it had like all these iterations. Oh, and the one we didn't mention is, so the guy on the intro screen with the impressive animation, which wowed people when they first did it. I presume they did like background layers and stuff. It's very well done. Is the character, I suppose, would be Hattori Hanzo, who was like this samurai from whatever, the 15th century or something, some classic Japanese samurai of legend, but specifically being portrayed in a movie by this guy Sonny Chiba, and we'll have to put the thing in. I texted to her, and it's like, oh my god, that's literally like the same picture. And and they did eventually change that, but weirdly not until the Virtual Console version, where they swapped it out for a guy. So it was like from M2, like I want to say.
Yeah, so that was like 2009. So it really hung in there with that one. Yeah, they actually changed it, didn't they?
I'll give him a shout out, Tsuyoshi Matsuoka from M2. There you go. But it's quite subtle. I mean, it's so subtle. In fact, you just kind of think, was there really any point? I mean, Sonny Chiba, I'm pretty sure that his movie was like in the 60s or something. He's probably dead. Right. Just
okay, just let it go, Sonny.
Effectively, what you've done is you've had your M2 person dress up as Sonny Chiba. Like, is that any better? Like, it's just. I don't know. Each to their own Sega. But there you go. So the funny thing about it was art styles. Well, I suppose art styles was one of its strengths. It's a beautifully made game, and the other spin-offs were cool as well. And it's, I would say, in a sea of ninja games, like old Joe Masashi, I'm gonna get his name wrong, is very recognizable. Or let's say, because the character changes, let's say Sega's Shinobi was a very recognizable shape with his sort of slightly hunched over walking style and stuff.
Right.
So art style very important.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of a weak leap. But let's go to the new game off of that, because art style is probably where I jump off on it, which is why I sort of making the leap at that point. So new game, we don't know a huge amount about it. We've obviously we've seen some like very, very short trailer footage in the Power Surge trailer.
A couple of snippets.
And what looks to be legit leaked footage. It's definitely a game, and it definitely looks like the game that was in the Power Surge trailer. So it looks like legit. I think everyone agrees it is legit footage.
Yeah. I mean, it's got that whole kind of, like it's Lizard Cube, isn't it? And it's got that same Streets of Rage 4 look about it with the art style and stuff. I think it's pretty sure that's what it is.
Well, as I understand it, everyone is saying Lizard Cube, but it's not been formally announced. But everyone just knows it's Lizard Cube. It seems to be my understanding of it. But whether it is or it isn't, yes, absolutely, it looks like their game, which is one of the reasons people think it's them. And it works. So we were saying before, it kind of. There's a few games, and probably because it's like a washed ink style, isn't it? Like with that it looks really like good. Ink and watercolor kind of look to it. And we were saying it looks a bit like Akami. And what was that game that you said about? Remember, like there was one you called out.
Betrayal. It kind of like. It looked a bit like that to me, like kind of like, and in terms of the gameplay, a little bit like that. Blood Rain Betrayal, it's called. It was like a 2D Blood Rain game. It came out like on the Xbox 360, kind of, and PS3, I think it was that kind of era. But I think it's been remastered. There's newer versions of it and stuff. But it kind of really reminded me of that.
It definitely looks like it, and also. Like in the sort of arts and graphics, but also some of the attacks and some of the the
gameplay,
flashes and slashes and stuff looks like
because it had that kind of a bit. It was, I mean, like the Shinobi footage was a bit muted color wise, wasn't it? I don't know, probably because they were in a dark kind of cavernous area or the corridors or something. But like that Blood Rain game had a same kind of feel about it, because that's like kind of quite a dark game and that.
And then what was the one I sent you? It's a bit older, isn't it? Sumioni Demon Arts, which I think was PlayStation Vita. So I've not played it, so I was just watching YouTube footage of it. And I have to say, it does look very cool. I don't know how it reviewed, but it looked ace. It's all, and I guess the point being, this sort of washed ink style is like Oriental, so Chinese and Japanese, like variously. And so it does kind of suit it. It's very different from the past Shinobi games. It isn't actually. A continuation. It is a revisiting, and I don't know if it's a bit of a stretch to say that might tell us something and say they aren't trying to do a new, it's certainly not like a pixel sprite game, is it? It's like
I mean, what they've shown looks really good, but we were talking, weren't we, about whether or not they've kind of changed the dynamic and whether they've gone a bit of the Castlevania route, whether it's going to be like a Metroidvania, because there was like some footage where he got to a door, there were 4 different colored switches, and it looked like you'd switch one, then probably have to go off in another direction. Whether or not it was going to be a little bit more Symphony of the Night than we would expect. But you know what, I think it looks really cool, and Symphony of the Night, if it's that kind of game, is really cool. So I'd be down for it. So.
You've basically got to think Castlevania, like initially was more, it was like a hack and slash kind of action game, and then later they introduced the actual exploration bits of it. It's kind of, and why not bring that into this series? I kind of think, I don't know if we said this in one of the videos or we just talked about it, but Sega doesn't actually have the best record at sequels and kind of continuing franchises and stuff. And so I think it's a good idea to let people have a go. Streets of Rage 4 had a lot of continuity, but it also did kind of do its own thing. It did feel like they had quite a lot of freedom. Like Sega are apparently quite hands off with it, and you think, oh my god, it worked big time.
They took some good influences from it, because like they were not just looking at the old Streets of Rage games, they were looking at like Street Fighter 4 and stuff, and realizing how that kind of worked, and like you had the big tournament scene, and there was obviously a big thing about it, so they were kind of, it's a lot more combo intensive and stuff, isn't it? Streets of Rage 4, there's a lot more options. But so if they can kind of expand the Shinobi formula in that kind of way as well, then I don't know, we could be on for a banger. I'm
kind of getting a bit of hype about it. It's of all of the ones, it seemed like the one that was maybe the most like the game that we'll actually see, just because
Yeah.
I know that kind of art style looks like they've taken some care to prepare it and stuff. You know, it's not been chucked in Unreal Engine and just spat out something generic, which maybe some of the others in that trailer did look like that. And but yeah, and it would be cool. I am getting a bit of hype, and I would love it if they introduced a bit of the Metroidvania to it and just added to it.
I love those games.
You know, they have had a bit of the sort of puzzling and like maze element. There's the bit in Game Gear Shinobi where they do the same thing. You know, you have to sort of go indoors and you get lost and all this sort of stuff. You know, there's been a bit of that, and you could expand on that angle. And I guess the other thing is, between the games from start to finish, Shinobi as a series it doesn't have watertight continuity. You know, it's not like there really is a real golden thread that unites the gameplay mechanics and the look of it and this. You know, it's quite varied, and take the gloves off. Let them try something. So
it could be like an interesting alternate take, because like, you know, I mean, like much like the Castlevania games, it's like you could die very quickly like back in the kind of like, you know, the Mega Drive and the SNES ones, but like, you know, you could at least get cracking and like do a bit of exploring and stuff like that in Symphony of the Night. It's like, you know, the game's not trying to kill you right away, and maybe that kind of thing will sit better with the modern audience or something, perhaps. I don't know, but but it certainly could be an interesting way to expand it. So like I say, I'm kind of interested by it. It looks cool, and like I think hopefully it's in good hands with the Streets of Rage 4 people.
Well, I was going to say, assuming it is the Lizard Cube guys, you know, I think they've landed a couple of hits so far, you know, that I'm particularly confident about, and the point being, it's not just remakes, it's reworks that they've done, and so but even if you call them remakes, they're bloody good remakes. You know, it's kind of Streets of Rage 4 isn't even in that camp, but you know what I mean. It's like they've taken an IP, they have done their own thing with it, and it's worked. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
And I think they got passion for it as well. It's like after they did Streets of Rage 4, I remember reading like interviews, I think it was, and they wanted to do another Sega game next. I think they actually mentioned like Golden Axe as being one that was kind of on their radar. So, you know, they've got like that personal touch with it. They're not just doing the job. They want to be doing these games. Hopefully that's going to stand it in good stead.
Yeah, that is a massive point, because I think you'd want to have the passion, and you want to understand a bit of what it went into the originals, but then you want the creativity and the passion of the new devs to do their thing. Yeah. Because if you're trying to recreate an old game on a new system, it's just not going to work. So
I tell you, just what they need to do. Do you remember in Revenge of Shinobi, the infinite shuriken cheat? Put that in there and you're golden. Do you remember it? You go to the option screen, you go down to shurikens, put it on 0-0, you wait a bit, and then it turns into the infinity symbol. That's what you gotta do, and I tell you, everyone will love it.
I couldn't possibly comment, because obviously I play it on hard mode with 5 shurikens. It's just like, never went near it.
You're just beating the end boss with the sword, like having shurikens long since depleted.
But, I mean, like, I would feel like this. The shuriken trick felt a bit like Shinobi magic. Do you know what I mean? It felt like my own personal ninjutsu to turn those 2 zeros into like the infinity.
Yeah, it made that little sound effect, didn't it? Like or whatever it was. It's like, magic has occurred.
I can't remember which game it was, but obviously, like in Revenge Shinobi, when you do it, it takes about 10 seconds, I think. You know, you do have to give it a moment to come back. Then I don't know which sequel it's in, but it's one of the sequels. It happens almost instantly, as if they're just like, "Oh, go on, you know you're gonna just." Just take it. Just take it. Just go.
Yeah. Just have it. Just have it and go.
You pathetic boy. So there you go. Well, I got hype. You know, that is several of these games now where we've said like I'm actually feeling quite hyped for it. I think like Jet Set Radio, they should be able to land a solid game. Like it just even if they do a continuation of the 2 they've done already, that will be a solid game. I think.
Yeah, it looks good so far.
I think Crazy Taxi.
From the brief.
You know, people have expressed a lot of worries, but I'm I don't know. I'm really confident they can make a great game there, and I think Shinobi looks awesome. Obviously we've got very little to go on with Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. Golden Axe, I guess we were saying, it's been hit and miss, mostly miss through the series so far. So fair play to them. Just do what you like. It's almost not a continuation of the IP. It's just a new game. So I've no idea, but I say I'm not massively confident on that one. And Streets of Rage, I'm hopeful, but it's the one I'm most worried about because I just think it's hard to land. It's hard to land what it appears they're trying to do.
It's 3D, isn't it? It's like it's operating 3D, and like, I don't know. I mean, at the same time, it's like Streets of Rage 4, even though it's quite a few years old now, I suppose, it's still new enough for me to be like, okay, at least I've got that game. You know what I mean? Somebody's nailed Streets of Rage, and we've always got that as a kind of like modern example of it. So see what they do with this next one, and I mean, if it sucks, then that'll be a shame. But
I guess the thing that worries me is the 3D bit, because I'm just like, it works as is, and taking it into 3D feels like because you can, it feels gimmicky. And I guess what I'd hope for is they kind of do what Street Fighter 6 did, which is, it's 3D and you get some nice effects from it and you can play with it, but fundamentally it plays like a 2D game. It's like, they don't fundamentally change the gameplay mechanics because they don't need to. They shouldn't do. The feel of that game is the core of the IP. So it's the one I'm most worried about. So hopeful but worried.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, you gotta have hope. Otherwise, what would you be?
That was beautiful, man. That was just beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And with that inspirational quote, I guess we'll wrap up the New Era, New Energy bit. So that these are some classic IPs. I really think we got to get some. There'll be some good games come out of this. I couldn't say that much, but for now, that's like our take on it. And obviously, when we get some actual news, it might come back and be proved completely wrong about everything. But we'll see. But for now, let's park it and talk about what we're doing next. So that's what Sega's doing next, and Sega do Sega, but the Gaming for Ages boys have got their own stuff going on. So what are we going to do?
We are hitting up a pretty big one, actually, I think. And it's one that I'm very much looking forward to. I loved it back at the time. And in subsequent playthroughs, I still really enjoy it. And it is the Dreamcast launch title, Sonic Adventure. The original bad boy on the Dreamcast. So yes,
it is an original bad boy, and I'm excited to play it mainly because I really haven't played it very much for a good decade or so. I just put it down one day and just didn't feel the need to pick it up again. And so when we were like planning out what stuff we want to play, that actually made me really want to play it again. Because it's so important. It's like such a big game. And
it was hype back at the time. It was like literally, I was so excited for it. It's like the screenshots, everything looked fantastic. Like I remember you were downloading like over dial-up all these videos of it and stuff.
I was literally going to say that. I found a place that was like, it had the videos on Real Player, and I had to work out how to daisy chain like a video over like 10 floppy disks because it was just too big to fit on them and stuff. And I sat for hours in the school computer room working out how to do it. I must have got it done because I remember sitting there and watching it.
You did it. Good job. Because I remember watching it around your house on your computer and just being like, well, this looks amazing. And it's like, I was so excited that, I couldn't even wait for the PAL launch. So it's like I got it on import and couldn't understand a word of it, but like we still beat it and it was great. So yes, I'm really looking forward to playing it again.
Yeah. So same. And it's so bit of a change, I guess, from what we've been doing, which is like these older IPs lurching forward in time, and that's exactly what Sonic Adventure did. So it's apt. There you go. But
there you go.
Look forward to it. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well then, I suppose, with everything being said, here we go.
Tusk.
Well, this has been great.
It did a little face.